On today's episode of Gathering the Kings.
Probably the biggest lesson I've learned in managing is being very consistent with what you say. If you say that, you want people who have a positive attitude to work here, and then somebody is negative and you don't address it, you just negated your first statement.
You are listening to Gathering the Kings with Chaz Wolfe, featuring fellow 7, 8, and even 9-figure business owners who have real battle scars from business and life, but have prevailed as the king that they are designed to be. We welcome high-performing entrepreneurs to the stage in order to reveal the real of the real on what it takes to build a successful business today. We dissect the good and bad decisions they've made along the way that give a true and accurate picture of the journey of success and how you too can get there. Through this dialogue, you will learn the value of growing your network and surrounding yourself with power players and kings like today's guest. Grab your pen and notebook because we're about to dive in.
What's up, everybody? Chaz Wolfe. Welcome back to Gathering the Kings. Today's guest, Bruce Byrnes, brings us just complete insight from somebody who had no idea how to brush the strokes of a paintbrush to running a unbelievably successful business and making it about his team. He gives so much value here around building out a business, not just having a job or being part of a trade, but building out an actual business. Excited for you guys to hear this one. Grab a pen and paper. Here we go. All right, everybody. This is Chaz Wolfe. I'm your host, Gathering the Kings. We got Bruce Byrnes on the stage here today. Welcome, brother. How are you?
Good, man. How are you? Thanks for having me. Hopefully I can provide some value for you guys today.
Yeah, man. Of course. You're a king in the business. Tell us what kind of business that you have.
Yeah, I own a residential, interior, exterior, small commercial as well, painting company. Been doing it for about 4 years. Me and my brother started it 4 years ago.
Nice.
This is year 5 and really excited about that. Yeah, and, started out with me and him. We were doing great. We did like $500K the first year, $850, $950 the following 2 years. But, if you want to grow a company, you got to hire people, right?
That's right.
So we went through those growing pains. That's a very specific skill set. But now we have 6 employees that are amazing, fit the core values, have been really awesome.
That's awesome.
And yeah, looking forward to, we did 1.5 last year. We'll probably do, 2.3 this year. But the sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit.
I can see $40 million in the next 10 years out of this company at this point.
Oh, I love the energy that you bring to that number. Just like such a big number that most people would be like, what,
Yeah, it's funny because when we first started, 500,000 seemed like a big number. And now every year, a big number just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
That's right. Just another zero. That's all it is. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, dude, I'm so glad that you're here. And I want to get into your story about how you got to that place. I love how you gave us just like the sequential order there of the growth. I also liked what you said that it takes a skill set to grow a team. And so I definitely want to dive into that for sure, because I think that the majority of people listening can use some help there.
Yeah.
And so I think that we can definitely use your value there. So before we go back into your story, into time, tell me at this level, like why are you trying to push for that 40 million? Why is it a big deal? Why not just sail off into the sunset at your 7-figure business?
Yeah. I don't know that I'll ever be at a point where I'm done, to be honest. I thought that this would be the number, that I would be like, okay, cool. I did it. Now I just hire a general manager and hang out, but,
right.
Yeah. So we got to a certain point, and I'll admit my brother and I both kind of stepped back and we're like enjoying it a little bit,
Sure.
And it's just not very fulfilling, honestly. Like you think that you want to build a business to go sit on the beach, but it's not very fun, honestly.
No.
So
that's right.
Not to say I don't want to take more vacations and spend time with family and whatnot, but
of course
I get the most joy out of like growth and doing things, learning new skills, like hiring, like the one that we just said. That's probably the thing I struggled with the most throughout the whole company. And like, honestly, in the last 2 months, I feel like I've just broken through to feeling like I'm competent at it, even though I've been doing it for 4 years now. So those kind of breakthroughs are just like invaluable. And the type of person that you have to be to run a $40 million company, just think about how, the
team
competent,
that you have to have.
Yeah. Think about how competent that person has to be, how level-headed that person has to be. And then, all the people that like the impact that you're making with that amount of people too is, I mean, not just those, that would take me like 60 employees at least to do that. But then all their kids, all their families, not to mention all the painters underneath all that. That's hundreds of people that I'm impacting at that point.
100%. Yeah. I love how you just so quickly in your brain did the math on how many employees it would take. But then your perspective obviously is one of putting it on your shoulders, because immediately you calculated their families, which like that's ownership. Like if you run a business and you're thinking about taking care of your people's family,
yeah,
that's a lot of weight,
Yeah. I mean, that's what makes me want to keep doing this too. Like I feel like if I was to just take a step back, it would be like a disservice to those people. Right. So they're relying on me to show up. Not to say that like nothing would happen without me, because those people are all super competent themselves now. Right. But none of this really would have started if I didn't wake up in the morning and go do it, So.
Yeah. There's a saying that I have, obviously podcast called Gathering the Kings, and it's only the king knows how heavy the crown really is.
Sure. Yeah.
And what we're talking about is only just a piece of the weight of the crown, but it's a big piece of it. When you have a team that you love, they're like family, their family is like family. It's like a big deal. And that's just weight on us. Not that it has to be a bad weight, but it's motivating. It propels us into our purpose of more, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I don't really think about it too much. I just do it because I want to. Yeah. But I actually had one of my employees mention that to me the other day. It's like, you're the only one that has pressure from every side. Like marketing, you need to produce enough leads. Like sales, you need to make sure that we're hitting our numbers. Production, like every single part of the business. And not to mention, the admin and the taxes and all that stuff that like just come up randomly. Yep. All that happens too. So yeah, I don't really think about it too much because I like enjoy doing it. But there's certain things that come up. It's funny because I've been thinking about that lately. Certain things that come up and I'm just like, I don't want to do this. Like haven't I reached a certain point where I don't have to do this anymore? Right. And yeah, like I have to snap out of that like right away, because there's never going to be a point where I should be so far removed that I'm not willing to get in the weeds.
Totally. There's this perspective, and I'll go with you and at the same point, give you a challenge. Mm-hmm. There's this perspective that I've seen, especially in that like $1 to $3 million range. And this is also for the listener too. Maybe we've got some 7-figure owners listening, but yeah, there's this transition from warrior to king, and the warrior stage being the 6-figure, the king, being the 7-figure, just for example purposes. And there's this transition from warrior to king where you're still a warrior king. And that mindset that you just gave is very much warrior king, where like you want to get in the weeds. I'm the same way. Like I love getting in the weeds. There's fulfillment in the weeds for me sometimes. But eventually, if the king realizes the value, the owner in this case, that you bring to the table, you can't go to war. You can't go to battle anymore, because if you die, the whole thing, the whole house comes down, So the value that you bring sometimes, although it feels different, it's almost like this like imposter syndrome is what they call it. You get big enough to where you're like, I'm not that big. Like I need to be involved with that, like everything that you just said, and, but the reality of it is that the value of your time is actually that you need to build the team. Like that person, that who needs to be on your team doing whatever that weed task is,
Right. Yeah. Like don't get me wrong. I'm not picking up a paintbrush. I'm not going out there and producing projects or anything like that anymore. Right. I think what I'm referring to is like, there's an issue internally, whether it's like personnel, attitude, or SOPs not being followed or something like that. It's like, I already built this system. I already solved this problem. But taking the time to like ask the right questions and figure out what needs to be refined. That's kind of more what I'm talking about. Like there is a level as to what you're saying. Like the warrior and the warrior king, I'm probably right here now. And I'll eventually get to just king, and hopefully soon. I think for me, it's all about the people that I hire, right? So 100%. If I hire really good people, they take things off my plate without me even asking. So
That's right. And I agree with you. I love the perspective there that you gave to the clarification. That was a lot of value there. Appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, let's go back into your story, man. I'm excited to hear some of the things that got you to where you are tell us first though, how did your journey in business start? Like, was it this business? Was it a business before? Was it you were, slinging candy bars as a kid? What'd you do, man?
Yeah. And I've never been like entrepreneurial growing up or anything. That would be cool if I could say that, nothing. I mean, selling things on eBay, like small time stuff like that.
Okay. Sure. Yeah.
But, it's funny because
I had our small time stuff.
Right. Yeah. I actually, I had an interesting kind of trajectory. So didn't do that great in high school, kind of like screwed off, partied with my friends and whatnot. And then senior year, I was like, man, maybe I should do something with my life. So I got it together, got straight A's that year, went to college for management and marketing. Turns out that doesn't really qualify you for very much. Like I really thought that going to Purdue would be like, all right, you're set up for life now, right? Like, because every time I tell people I went to Purdue, they're like, oh man, that's a great school. Like, I didn't do anything though. I just got a sales job out of college.
Right.
I will say I got in a little bit of trouble. I got a DUI in college, so luckily that's gone now.
Yeah.
Out of that, but that's actually a blessing in disguise because it qualified me only for smaller companies. So no corporate companies are going to hire anybody with a criminal record at all.
Right.
Like I said, I got rid of it now, so it's all good.
Yeah,
sure.
But you're not trying to get hired anywhere now anyways.
Right. So. Yeah. At the time though, I was like, it really hurt me like emotionally. That hurt my ego, like I have this like scar on my record now.
Right.
And anyway, so like it kept me from getting a lot of jobs. So luckily I worked at a lot of startups. So it was a lot of 3-4 person, maybe 10 person teams.
Yeah.
So I got to see what a good boss does and what a bad boss does.
Yeah.
So I worked in signage, and I worked in digital marketing. So I did project management and sales.
Okay. And
kind of funny, it just set me up for this perfectly. So like I knew how to do sales. I knew how to do project management. And then, another like not so awesome statistic or factoid about me. It's not a bad thing that I did, but when we were starting the company, 2017, I broke up with my 3-year girlfriend, which sucked terribly. That was my first long-term relationship.
Oh, yeah.
Then my mom passed away. And then my dog passed away. And then I got fired. So all that happened in I think it was 6 months that happened.
Wow. 2017, bro.
Man, I was in a bad place. Yeah, in my head and everything. So my brother also, he was in the medical marijuana industry. He was making tons of money doing that, because it was so lucrative then. But they basically were like, you can either take a 50% pay cut or we have to let you go. So he lost his job too. And I was like, hey, man, maybe this is a sign, maybe we should do something together. And he had a painting company in Vail before, which in college, I used to come out. And I don't know if you're familiar with Vail, Colorado, but it's amazing. The houses are multi-million dollars. So we did that. I would come out for the summers and he did that for years. I was like, what if we started a painting company? And he's like, I don't want to paint anymore, man. Like it's hard work,
Yeah.
I was like, what if you don't have to paint? And and then we decided to start it. I had $5,000 in savings and he had a similar amount, maybe twice as much as that.
Sure.
But I was like, all right, well, I can float myself for 2 months. So let's roll. See what happens. And it was really grassroots, just you hear from a lot of entrepreneurs going out, knocking doors, leaving flyers on people's doors, getting told off because we're interrupting their dinner, getting made fun of because, we're out there bothering people, getting hassled by people, all that. But anyway, it worked and made the first sale, invested that money into marketing, and then just kept repeating the process until, we did 500 that first year.
That's awesome, man. Okay. So you just gave us so many things, even just in that last sentence, that I want to break down for the listener. Yeah. So first off, I love the story of how the stars aligned. All the bad circumstances basically led to, what do I have to lose? It sounds like.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, and I always hear that story or that saying, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Right.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like for me, I wasn't thinking that way. I was thinking the opposite. Like I've already failed, so fuck it. Let's just see what happens.
Exactly. What could possibly go wrong here?
Right. It can't get much worse than this. And I just moved back home to Indiana and go be a bartender again if I need to. So let's see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's something to be said there, obviously, when you burn the bridges, if you will, when you have nothing to lose, or when you're not afraid of failure, you just kind of walk right into it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a piece of what's holding some of the listeners back, as obviously just inaction or not running straight at whatever is holding them back. And you had no fear in that because it wasn't like you were going to lose anything anyway. So you just went for it. What I also heard you say is that you didn't have a problem. You kind of laid down the ego again, probably because you didn't have much to lose, and you had no problem doing the flyer thing and the knocking on doors and getting rejection. And that's kind of sales in general. But that's how you grow a business, is that you have to talk to people, and eventually through the numbers, you're going to find deals and you get clients, and then those people refer you and you keep knocking on doors or calling people, whatever. And then the last thing that you said that I want to bring up for the listener here is that you said rinse and repeat, basically. Yeah. You created a process, a couple of steps there to get a sale, and then repeat, and then repeat, and then repeat, and then have someone else help you with that, and then repeat, and then repeat, have someone else help you, and repeat, and repeat. And that's really what I would agree with you and say is that the person that's listening right now who's not at the 7-figure mark is that they just haven't been able to hit the repeat button enough yet.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was saying in, our initial call too, is like, I'm not doing anything monumental over here. My sales ratio is like 40%. It's not like I'm the best salesperson in the world. It's not like my brother's the best production manager in the world. We just have really good systems. And at this point we have a really good culture too. But at the beginning, it was just a system that we know is repeatable and generates a strong profit.
Exactly. I love it. It doesn't have to be this like mystical thing. It can be known. It can be easy, simple, and repeatable.
Yeah. And we're painting houses. People have been painting houses for thousands of years. This is not a new concept. Yeah. When we first started talking about starting a business, we had that same thing that I think a lot of people who are interested in entrepreneurship have. Like, we need to invent something new, or we need to like create some new solution to some problem.
Yep.
All it really is that I can see in this industry that there's a lack of service, and I can do it better. So I'm going to do it better.
Exactly. I love that. I think even just that, like, we could end just in the podcast, boom, mic drop, and like that's it. Like as long as you see that right there, like, how do you fill the void in whatever the market is that you're in? How do you do it better? It doesn't have to be new and sexy, creative, anything like that. You just have to go do something that works and just do it better.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into your decision-making process here. Give me a good decision along the way that you've made that was just instrumental to your growth.
Ooh, that's a good question. I think I would have to go with my philosophy at the very beginning of the business was that I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So I still feel the same way. And that has led me to, I think at this point we spent like $80,000 on coaching.
Got it.
Since we started the business. So going out there, basically it's a very simple idea. There's someone out here that's already done this. Who are they? I'm going to identify them, and then I'm going to ask them how they did it. And that's what I did. And then since then there's been other programs and stuff like that that we signed up for as well. And it's been ridiculously invaluable. And we'll get to the networking portion that you wanted to talk about too, but since then I can hit up any one of these people with any one of the problems that I run into.
Yep.
And they do the same with me. We just go back and forth and like,
that's right.
Hey, how did you solve this? And they tell me what they did, and I give it a shot. It might work, might not, but
that's right.
Way more info than I would have if I just tried it on my own. So
100%. I'm sure that the person listening has heard, they paid for a coaching program or whatever before.
Yeah.
Do you think that was you saying like, I just want to get there faster, or I don't have the ego here, or like, what was the piece that allowed you to go, okay, I'm willing to pay for someone else's info, expertise, whatever? Because I've been in the same shoes. I've paid a lot of money for that as well, and it's helped speed things up. But I want to hear your perspective.
I don't know if it was a desire to get there faster. I'm definitely impatient. It's something that I've been working on lately, honestly, because I know it's funny because you think it would push you faster, but it actually held me back a little bit.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I've made some mistakes along the way because of my impatience.
Sure. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. And set some goals that were a little too lofty and whatnot. But I don't think it was necessarily that. I think it really was just like, I feel like I don't know what I'm doing and I want to learn. Yeah. And what's the best way that I can do that? Definitely trial and error too, like 100%. That's a great way to learn. Growth mindset is one of our number one core values for that reason. Like, don't be afraid to make mistakes. And we don't want to just sit back and think about everything before we do it. We also want to just take action and find things out. But I mean, at first we signed up for a cheat program that was like $750 just to get started. And then since then, it's just been like
one thing after the next.
And not everyone has been good for that matter either.
That's right.
But even the ones that, you spend 20 hours on and you get one piece of information, is proven to be worth it. So I'd say, it's, I wouldn't say it's a lack of ego, but more so just like, I legitimately felt like I didn't know what I was doing and I wanted to find out how to do it this way I could. It's also a competitive thing for me too, like totally. I want to be the best.
Yeah. I love that. Let's flip the coin. Tell me about a bad decision.
Yeah. So we have hired about 4 employees that have been not good fits, which usually isn't a great or a huge deal for a company of our size. Yeah. But the way that our company is structured, each employee is essentially worth like $1 million in revenue. So it is a big deal. So not all of those were catastrophic. Some of them just weren't a good fit, and it worked out for a little while, and then we let them go. Right. Yeah, there were. I don't want to name any names or anything, but there were at least 2 of those employees that having them on board brought down the entire team. Yeah. Either through quality of work or through attitude, mainly attitude. It's funny how I feel like positivity spreads really rampantly. I do feel like that, but I think negativity spreads quicker. Yeah. And I think that's proven in statistics too, if you look it up, but it brought down the team quickly. So I think really it wasn't even necessarily the hiring that was the mistake. Okay. It was the letting them stay for too long. That was the mistake.
Got it. Yep. So the pain point there that the listener can maybe relate to is you've got somebody on your team right now that has a poor attitude, whether it's about the work or even it may not even be about the job or about you. It may just be stuff that they've got going on, but they just bring negativity to the job.
Yeah, 100%.
But then keeping them around too long, not addressing it or not getting rid of that person.
At first, I wasn't addressing it. Now I address it right away. Like, I don't care if you worked here for 2 days. You do something that I can obviously infer as negative, then we're going to talk about it immediately. So that's probably the biggest lesson I've learned in managing is being very consistent with what you say. If you say that, you want people who have a positive attitude to work here, and then somebody is negative and you don't address it, you just negated your first statement. So
100%. Yep. Yeah. That's the thing about the English language, right? You gotta, the actions back up what we're saying.
Right.
Okay. So do you have a process for making decisions that you try to follow or some sort of a discipline?
No, it's something I'm working on right now, actually.
Okay.
That's what I was talking about earlier. I found that, honestly, the biggest thing that's held us back has just been overthinking and not taking action.
Yeah.
So,
did you learn that though through something, or was that just like innate? Like you just figured that out along the way?
No, I mean it is through my experience, but it's also the books I read and everything too.
Sure. Okay.
So, like my only real process for decision making would be the growth mindset and integrity. So screw it. All 3 core values, compassion too, that one's in there too. So basically at this point, because I used to have this list of like 25 values that I was like, I want to live by these things in my life. And it just got so complicated that I was like, all right, well, I want to be compassionate, but I also want to work hard. Which of these is more important in this specific instance? And just boil it down to those 3 core values. So growth mindset, integrity, and compassion. And if I am making decisions in that regard, then I go for it. And if it doesn't align with that, then I don't. And that's kind of it. The biggest thing though is afterwards, make sure that you're double checking and making sure it was a good decision or a bad decision and what you can learn from it. Right. So that's kind of what I was talking about with like being less cautious. Is sometimes you have to just do it to find out the best way to do it. Like I can teach you how to swing a golf club, but if you don't go out there and put in the reps, then you're never going to know how to swing a golf club. You theoretically know, but you don't know until you put in the reps.
That's right. So the takeaway there is know what your identity is, whether it's a company, you as an individual, however you make decisions on behalf of the company or as an individual, know who you are. So that way, whatever your North Star is, in this case, it's growth mindset, integrity, and compassion for you. If that decision fits into those things, you do it. If it doesn't, you don't. It makes it clear, black and white, logical, yes, no.
Yeah, right.
But then follow up. I'm also hearing you say follow up to see, was it a good decision, bad decision, not to like sulk or think and cause inaction, but to learn.
Right. Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you're not like learning from your mistakes, then it becomes a failure. But if you do learn from it, then it's still a win. And it makes it a lot less scary to make mistakes when you do it that way too.
Totally.
Yeah, I'm not afraid to fuck up. And if we look back at the first year, we made so many mistakes. It was kind of crazy, and we still did awesome. Like
you look back on that first year and think, oh my goodness, well, like it was a mess probably.
Yeah, it was real messy and lots of hours and lots of stress. But that's the only reason I feel like at this point, if you were to ask me a simple question about my business, I know the answer immediately because I've tested it at this point so many times.
That's right. That's good. We can all relate to that. Looking back and going, oh, geez, if I had known what I know now, like, just the craziness of the mess of, but I said that I was guesting on a podcast a couple of years ago. And I said this, I said, if the failures are what's going to get me to success, like if the perspective that you just said, if they're the dues that I have to pay, then let me just pay them. Like, let's just go. Let's get to them as fast as possible. Let me get through it. Let me learn the lessons.
Yeah.
Because they're going to come.
Right. Yeah. 100%.
There's no hiding.
And I feel like that's kind of why I'm working on this right now too, is because at the beginning of the business, it was 100% let's do it, whatever it is. I don't care. Let's try it.
Right.
I've gotten more cautious over time because I feel like I have learned a lot of lessons, but that doesn't mean I should stop trying new things. And just because this system doesn't mean that there isn't something over here that I haven't thought about and haven't tried yet. So
yeah, that's good mindset, man. You're giving us good stuff here. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go the speed round. You ready?
Sure.
Okay, first question. Bruce, if you could only pick one metric in all of the business, you said you know your numbers, you know everything about your business now. If you could only pick one metric to track, what would it be?
Oh, man. One metric to track. It's tough because there's so many that are valuable. I mean, I have to go to net profit because that is what means that we're going to be around for a long time. It means that we're going to be able to take care of all of our people. It means that when there is an issue for a customer, we're going to be able to back it up. We have a warranty that we can actually back up because we actually collect money for the company. And I also think it's something that a lot of entrepreneurs give up just because they want to see that top line go higher, right? I would rather produce $2 million and make, a 20% profit than produce $4 million and make a 10% profit. At the end of the day, that's the same amount of money, but you had to do twice the amount of work. So I'd say net profit. I want to say something, philosophical like net happiness or something like that. I do want it to be very enjoyable, but sure. It's only enjoyable if we make enough money to make sure everybody can pay their bills at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we're doing it for. And that's what our people are doing it for. Let's not get it twisted. We're all here because we want to make money. So there's nothing wrong with that. And I also think that the way that you gave it to us was very, very just good perspective. Also, I think that the net is something that a lot of people overlook, like you said. So I think that a lot of guys, especially at the 6-figure mark, they probably don't even know what the net is. They're just, they kind of just take whatever's left and then wake up tomorrow and do it all over again. And it's pretty stressful to be in that without it being systemized and predictable.
You got to pay yourself first so you can sleep at night. Right.
That's right. And I guess the reason why I went there, what you said was the net profit was allowing the company to be stable, to back up a warranty. It wasn't you as the owner get to, drive a fancier car.
Right.
It was because that net for you, as that's after you got paid, right? So that's the company retaining earnings and being healthy and making it make sense for a long period of time. That's stability in a business.
Yeah. There's something I say internally all the time that I don't say out loud a lot. But it's very applicable to what we're talking about right now. Exemplary painting, my company, any company has its own needs. It doesn't give a shit about your feelings at all. It has its own needs. It needs this to be healthy. You need to give it what it needs, regardless of how you feel about it. So
that's right. How does an entrepreneur get to that place that you just described? Because it's so true, but it's so raw. How do they get there?
I mean, that is a tough question. I think for me, it's just because I love what I've built at this point. Like it's kind of like a child to me, you know? So like you would do anything for your child, right? So that's kind of how it works for me. But yeah, I mean, it's also just an objective truth, right? Like the business must be healthy to survive. It must be healthy to pay its people. It must be healthy to take care of its customers. So it's the same thing as a human being. You got to take care of your body for your mind to work right. It's the only way it works, you know?
That's right. Great perspective. Okay. Next question. What book do you recommend for a 6-figure owner trying to get to 7?
Yeah. So I think the number one book that I recommend to anybody ever is Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Great book.
And it's not super applicable specifically to getting to more money per se.
Yeah.
There's probably other books if you're just focused on the money that might be better, but
sure.
At the end of the day, it comes back to your habits, right? Like, are you taking the actions that you need to take to reach the goal? And are you objectively doing those things or not? If you're not objectively doing those things, you're not going to get to that goal. So Atomic Habits is kind of like breaking it down into the little things that you have to do so that it becomes automatic. If you get to the point where, you know, these high value habits are automatic, including the way you think are automatic, then it happens. It just happens anyway. Now you still need to, you know, the Atomic Habits will implement the habit of reading, right? So you're going to read a bunch more books after you implement this book to begin with. So that's why I think it's so valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the perspective there. I think what you were saying there, as far as like when you get in the habit or when you build these good habits, you just do it. For me, doing it, obviously we can break that down to a lot of things, but it's decisions. And it's really why I try to break down good and bad decisions, even in this show, because for me, when I look at successful people and when I look at my own history, we are where we are based on the decisions that we've made. And those decisions are so tied to our habits, our disciplines, our daily actions. And so the way that you think, man. And so I love what you said there because it's 100% true. If you can get that stuff down, the rest, like you said, happens, which for me is like the rest, meaning you make good choices.
Yeah.
You make good decisions.
Yeah.
Good decision backed by good decision backed by good decision is really what breeds success. It doesn't mean that you don't make bad decisions. It just means that you make enough good ones in a row that you get some momentum going.
Yeah. Yeah. Momentum is huge. So
that's good, man. Okay. Next question. Do you intentionally mastermind or network? You kind of already mentioned this a little bit, but give us a little bit more there.
Yeah, definitely do. It's evolved over time. I started right away with a BNI group,
of course,
and you know, usually smaller businesses in there, but still great resource to bounce ideas off of people and obviously get referrals, which is the point of the group.
Yep.
Still have great friends from that group, and then eventually that just no longer financially made sense. The return wasn't there.
Yep.
So I moved on to another coaching group. This one was called Breakthrough Academy. That one, I learned a lot from a lot of other contractors similar to me. Yeah. Still talk to them to this day. And actually, it's funny. One of them, we're both going to go to a different coaching. We're in a different coaching program now that we just both kind of naturally transitioned to.
That's great.
I'm going to see him. I actually meet him for the first time next week. We've only ever been digital. I think the important part is, for me, I'm a personal relationship kind of guy. I'm not like a group type of person. I never have been. I always, even in high school, I was like, if I'm friends with you, it doesn't mean I'm friends with him, right? People that I have around me. And that's like a complex thing from my childhood. But picking those people and creating those like deeper relationships has been really valuable for me, which just goes back to like, if I have a problem or something that I'm working on, I can float it by those people and get a lot of insight.
I love that. What I heard you say in there, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but based on your profile here, you're maybe not so much like a group person or an extrovert, but but you had to put yourself in those situations to find those individual relationships.
Yeah, 100%.
So you had to get uncomfortable in order to get what you were looking for, even on the one-to-one level.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not afraid. Like I would say I'm an introvert at heart, but I'm not afraid in any way to be extroverted. Yeah. It's just not something that like I naturally seek out. I just know how beneficial it is to me to do so. So let's do it.
Yep. Yeah. That's the same boat that I'm in. Learned extrovert.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's good stuff, man.
You'll meet amazing people, but only if you try.
100%. I mean, I've had people ask about this show. Like, why do you do the show? I'm like, bro, have you seen some of my guests? Like, I've had some amazing people, like a guy named Bruce, you know?
Yeah. Awesome, man.
Okay. Last question. You ready?
Yeah, sure.
If you lost it all, what would you do?
Man, it's funny. I would just do it again, honestly. I have big plans for the future. This isn't the only venture that I want to have anyway. But this is a great foundation. And I think one of the beautiful parts about this business is the simplicity of it. You know, like I said, I'm not doing something monumental. It's something that we've been as humans doing for thousands of years. I personally feel like it's not going away anytime soon. I know the industry is always, or the economy is always changing. So we'll see what happens, you know.
Sure,
hopefully if it does change, I'm in on the ground level of that. But yeah, like this sets the foundation for everything that I can do in the future. And I would literally just start the company again.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the grit that comes in that answer. That's what I'm hearing you say. Just knowing what you know now, how could you go do anything else?
Right.
You know?
And I could do this so much faster the second time. Like it would be, I personally feel like I could get from point A to now that it's taken me 4 years. I could do it in 1 year. I feel very confident that that's true.
100%. I love that. Okay. If someone listening today just super connected with you, how do they find you? How do they connect with you online or website or social?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not super out there, to be honest, just Facebook, Instagram, and then the company itself, Exemplary Painting. If you really want to see my face, that's where it'll be.
That's great, man. Well, we appreciate you coming and sharing just nuggets along the way that you've learned. Your story is just valuable, man. Just hearing the things that you've gone through, good decisions, bad decisions. I love it, every piece of it. So thank you from me, and thank you from my audience for being here and being just incredibly valuable. We appreciate it and wish you nothing but success in your 40 million trek.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll let you know when I get there.
Thanks for listening to Gathering the Kings. We hope you got a ton of value today and learned a thing or two about taking your business to 7 figures and beyond. If you desire more and want a community around you to help you get there, I want you to go to gatheringthekings.com. That's gatheringthekings.com. And I want you to apply for our next Becoming a King 90-day intensive. We are extremely exclusive by nature as a group. What that means is that we're really wanting only the entrepreneurs who take their business and targets super serious to apply. So if that's you, you think you got what it takes to level up your business, I want you to go to gatheringthekings.com and apply. And we will see you on the other side.